Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Please permit me to stand on all existing protocols as we move this along fairly quickly. I think there's a presentation that's... No? Okay. Well, lucky for everybody, I think I know enough about VI Power Project. I've lived it for the last few years now. So just expanding on what you heard Tola talk about and some of the stuff on the video. Victorian Power is a subsidiary of Elektron Power Infracom, which itself is a Mauritius-based holding company that was created last year to essentially hold a number of IPPs. VI Power happens to be one of them. It's meant to be a gas-fired 30-megawatt embedded power plant that will be built on this very site that we're on. It will serve what we call maximum demand customers, which essentially commercial off-takers that have pretty intense electricity needs, fundamentally. In the VI Power area, which is a franchise area, perhaps one of the most vital franchise areas that belongs to EcoDisco. To make that kickoff, what we did is we signed a power purchase agreement with EcoDisco, which was signed off last year, and a connection agreement, which allows us to jointly manage with EcoDisco the distribution network in the Victoria Land Power area, and also to help regulate the billing and revenue collection from these customers that we intend to sell to. The site we're on belongs to EcoDisco, so we're also leasing this site from EcoDisco. So the partnership with EcoDisco is actually quite extensive. The IPP's energy output will be sold to key commercial customers via the connection agreement, and it effectively allows us to fulfill one of NERC, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission's policies of encouraging what they call embedded generation power in the country. And you heard Tola mention the fact that it's the first of its kind that's actually seen daylight in the country. And so we hope this will be an example of how you can roll them all forward. The plant is being built by Wärtsilä. Wärtsilä Finland will be the OEM that would they've actually already built the engines, the reciprocating engines. That's already gone through factory acceptance testing in Finland. And Wärtsilä Nigeria will be responsible for the civil works. This all should be wrapped up in the next 18 months. So we look forward to seeing you all here with some of your friends, hopefully, in 18 months, fourth quarter 2024. The project cost is roughly $50 million. Elektron and ARM Harith, HIF, as we refer to our friends, have invested about $18 million of equity into the transaction. And we reached financial close June last month, with our financing partners, Bank of Industry, FBN Quest, and InfraCredit, which is how we're able to come to the groundbreaking ceremony as we know it today. So the project itself has two phases. There's a distribution aspect to it, which involves building out 5 various feeder networks. These feeder networks will essentially allow power to be taken from the substation, which is on this site, directly to customers. What it does is make sure that when we generate the power on the IPP, we can be certain that customers are receiving the power that we generate from that IPP. So these are dedicated feeders. We started building them last year. We've built 5 of them already. There's still some more work to actually connect some customers on them. And as it turns out, we already have customers who are taking power off of those networks. People like Standard Chartered Bank, Citibank, Pelion Hospital, Glow, EcoBank, IHS Towers, Heritage Bank, and a few others. The intention is that these customers who are essentially governed by what we call a temporal PPA that allows us to take power today will essentially migrate onto a much more long-term PPA that allows them to take power directly from the IPP. The second phase, which is really what we're here to celebrate today, is the actual building of the IPP itself. And that's the 30-megawatt power plant, gas-fired reciprocating engines that will be built on this site. This is essentially what we reached financial close for last month, and it is what we expect that will be built in the next 18 months, probably sooner. We have a transaction structure that's fairly complex. I won't bore you with the details. Suffice to say that I think what's unique about this particular arrangement between ourselves and EcoDisco is that EcoDisco has enabled us through the connection agreement to actually interface with the customers who are taking the power directly. And so what that means is that we're able to give comfort to our financiers that when those customers are billed, the funds go directly to an escrow arrangement, an escrow account that is governed by VI Power and EcoDisco, which enables all the various service providers to the IPP to be paid and ensures that the financiers can actually have full access to those funds and are also paid directly. So that's, I think, the real takeaway from the transaction structure. The project parties, we have some of the names listed on the behind me here. I would just note that these effectively are all the project owners. Elektron might well be the vehicle that was used to create it, but let's be clear. Every single person, every single entity mentioned there are very much the owners of this project as we know it. You know about us, Elektron. You know, we are the quote-unquote project sponsors. I think you've heard enough about us, so I won't bore you with that. There's the equity investor, ARM Harith, who were kind enough to invest up to $19 million into VI Power and a suite of other projects that Elektron is working on in tandem with ARM Harith. I look forward to hearing from ARM Harith immediately I'm done on the stage here, so they can talk a little bit more about themselves. I think they've been very critical to this project, and without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. There's Wärtsilä, who are the ones doing the EPC and the O&M. They've been around for quite a while. We've been talking to Wärtsilä, and I think easily up to 3 years or so. It's a very patient bunch. They're ably represented here today, and we look forward to hearing from them as well. And then we have various off-takers who are already taking power from us. As I mentioned, the likes of EcoBank, Standard Chartered, Glow, Silverbird, Citibank, and so on and so forth. But all of that is enabled by EcoDisco. If EcoDisco were not willing, essentially, to partner with us and to allow us to actually deal directly with the customers, it wouldn't happen. I'd like to say that EcoDisco is probably the most forward-looking and the most progressive of all the discos by very far in the country. And it's no wonder why they're the most profitable and the most advanced in what they do. Thank you very much. And so that has enabled the commercial realization of the project fundamentally. Our gas supply is with Tetracor and GasLink. Our financiers, of course, FBN Quest, who are the mandated lead arrangers. They have been wonderful. When nobody believed in this project, they took it on and have managed to help arrange what ended up being close to 25 billion naira of debt for the project. They've worked with InfraCredit, who themselves stood guarantors to roughly about 16 billion naira of credit, and then Bank of Industry, which committed another 14.2 billion naira to the project. These have been momentous sums in the power space for a greenfield power project, so we're very grateful for that. The legal counsels, we couldn't have done these deals without them. We have Templars who've worked very hard on behalf of Elektron and VI Power and ARM Harith at some point. Detail solicitors who worked on behalf of the lenders, the guarantors, and the entire credit parties. And then, of course, Trinity, who were instrumental in helping to put together the equity agreements between ARM Harith and Elektron in the formation of EPI Mauritius. The power plant, as I said, is located at this site. There's roughly about 7,000 square meters of available land on this site, which of itself is close to about 10,000 square meters. what we've managed to, and this site, of course, situates the Eco-Disco substation for which the power plant is going to connect to directly. We've managed to be able to carve out an area for it, and that's where we're going to situate the plant. The site itself is part of a 20-year lease, which we agreed with Eco-Disco, which essentially matches the useful life of the power plant itself. So I think just before I go, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the ESG impacts that Victoria Land Power will have. I think the first thing we need to appreciate is that we expect to displace diesel generators, which, as we know, is the dirtier fuel in the fossil fuel family, by essentially replacing with natural gas fire generation. In effect, we think we're going to be able to take out about 500 diesel-fired generators. We'll make them redundant. That's essentially like removing 9,000 tons of carbon dioxide from the environment on a monthly basis. The creation of the plant itself, the construction through operations, should generate about 250 jobs in this area. We think we're going to be able to empower small businesses in the area because you essentially reduce the cost of doing business dramatically. And obviously, it should also reduce the cost of power for large commercial off-takers. And those who are already customers of ours today are experiencing that as we speak. And then there's also the reduction of noise pollution in the area. You cannot ignore how much noise you get from the generators when they're powered during the day and especially at night. And overall, just improves power supply, makes Victoria Land area a much more viable destination for commercial customers, which is important when you consider the fact that Victoria Land is the commercial nerve center of Nigeria. So that's it. But before I leave, if I may just ask to come to the stage the CEO of ARM Harith. ARM Harith, again, are partners on this transaction. As I mentioned before, what we have today could not happen without their very intense involvement in the deal. So please help me welcome to the stage Ms. Tariq Badigesin.
Good morning, all. Like the prior speaker, permit me to stand upon all existing protocols. I think that the CEO of Elektron and the CFO have given a very robust technical overview of the project as well as the structure. And I'm also happy to give a very brief introduction of ourselves. We are ARM Harith Infrastructure Investments Limited. We are a private equity infrastructure fund based in Lagos. We invest in West Africa. A lot of our investments are in Nigeria. We were, I think, the first infrastructure fund to be licensed under the Nigerian Securities and Exchange Commission infrastructure licensing rules. We have decades of experience in landmark infrastructure projects. We are always willing to set precedents, and we see this project as one of them. But I actually would like to talk a bit about something else today, which is about what we call bankable projects and how this ties to our current environment for infrastructure, as well as how we deliver infrastructure into the gap that we see. The African, in fact, the Nigerian infrastructure opportunity is effectively a greenfield opportunity. There is a $170 billion infrastructure gap in Africa. And for us to fill it, we will need to build infrastructure. We do not have enough operating companies that have infrastructure or infrastructure assets for us to expand or build upon. And this presents a pretty great challenge for us because greenfield infrastructure financing is one of the most challenging